Hey, sorry for the interruption, but we wanted to let you know that this week's episode is brought to you by Spotify for Podcasters. Really cool app. Josiah and I use it for every single show that we bring to you every week. You can edit podcasts right from your phone or computer, so you can start creating as soon as you log into the platform. You can easily distribute your podcasts to Spotify and everywhere else the podcasts are heard, just like we do every single week. You can also create video podcasts on Spotify, which is really cool. And of course, you can earn money like I'm doing right now by including ads and even podcast subscriptions. And best of all, it's totally free. There's no catch. We really love it. We use it every single week. So we encourage you to go download the Spotify for Podcasters app or go to www.spotify.com/podcasters to get started. All right, let's get back to the show.
Welcome to this week's episode of the Print on Demand Cast. Each week, join Travis and Josiah as they provide insight into the print-on-demand industry and equip you with the tools, advice, and strategy you need to achieve success and hopefully have a few laughs along the way. Now, on to this week's show.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Print on Demand Cast. We are so happy and thankful that you join us each and every week. And this week, it will be no different because it's going to be an awesome show. And Travis Ross is joining me once again. Travis, how's it going, man? How's things been going for you during the midst of Q4?
Yeah, man, it's been a crazy week. Last week, we talked about how we were recording this on a Saturday, releasing it on a Wednesday. Same thing goes this week. So we are in the middle of the chaos.
Yeah.
And every day it's, tons and tons of orders and, getting as many things out as we possibly can. The Monday was just insane. I'm expecting the same from this Monday.
Yep.
But yeah, it's definitely keeping me busy, off the streets and out of the bars, although COVID does that anyway. So
yeah, exactly.
I don't know what I'd be doing otherwise.
Well, I don't know about off the streets. I mean, if you live in California, there's things that are still legal to do on the street. Safely, apparently. But yeah, dude, I remember I texted you on Wednesday and said, hey, are we recording tonight? And you're like, I'm still at the shop. And I was like, well, okay, that works because I just got done working. So that's like it is the season. I think you posted what was the mug that you posted? The work related joke, the light at the end of the tunnel joke.
Yeah.
What was that?
Yeah, it said something like it was like a notice. Due to the extreme busyness of the season, the light at the end of the tunnel will be turned out until further notice.
Yeah, it seems that way. In fact, I was talking to one of our production workers this week because we just had stuff stacking up in droves, which is a good problem to have. But I said, sometimes I want to reach out to these clients and ask if I made them mad personally for them to punish us this way. But it was, of course, a joke, but because it's what we want to happen. But sometimes it's like, man, there's just so much to do, and there's only so many hours in a day and days in a week. But again, it's what we do it for. It's why we're here. It's why we have the business is to make money. And we're going to go to our point of interest. But before we do, I just want to say also and bring up, we received an email this last week of someone, a fan of the show, and wanting to see if one of her the bosses that she works for can be a guest on the show. So that's going to be coming up, I think, in January. But the point of this is to say we really enjoy hearing your guys' feedback. I know it was really cool for us to read her comments about our witty repartee and banter that we have been. Of course,
she could have just been trying to flatter us, but We'll actually believe the best.
That's true. I choose to believe, and I'll live in the world where she actually likes our witty repartee that we've been perfecting for 4 years as friends. So, and bringing to this podcast. But yeah, it was really cool. So guys, if you have feedback or topics or anything like that, we want to hear from you. Again, info@printondemandcast.com. Reach out to us. We want to hear from you. So with that being said, we're going to transition to this week's point of interest.
This is the point of interest. Please listen with your ear holes. Prepare for launch.
this week's point of interest is something you brought to my attention, and you said, "Hey, have you heard of DTF?" And I said, "Time out." Of course I have. I hope we're not talking about the same thing. And then you had to explain to me what DTF was, and it's actually a really cool new print process, direct to film printing. I feel like whoever invented this did that on purpose. The DTF acronym, they're like, this is going to catch on. It's going to be funny. I'm naming it this on purpose. Also, it is literally printing it on film. So, Travis, tell us a little bit about what kind of film do you print on? Is it like transparencies? When I was a kid in church, we had those overhead transparencies that we would use for the lyrics.
Yeah, I remember those.
You remember those? Is it that kind of transparency?
Totally.
What are we talking about when we talk about film print, direct to film printing?
Yeah, well, it's actually a PET film or PET film. It's the technical word for the acronym is I'm going to butcher this, polyethylene terephthalate glycol modified film. So
Sure.
that's exactly what it is. and basically you print on this film, and it's almost like a transfer, but it's not like a vinyl or a screen printed transfer, because you can use most any type of DeskJet or even DTG printer if you're using the right inks and you've got the right rip to where it lays down the everything in the right way. But it's really cool because it doesn't limit you like DTG limits you to cotton fabrics primarily. I mean, there are some poly pre-treats that you can play with and such, but on these DTF machines, you can print on both dark, light garments as well as those can be cotton, polyester, 50-50 blends, tri-blends, even spandex or leather. It's very flexible.
Yeah.
Spandex,
which could be a cool
spandex is super flexible.
Yeah, it could be a cool solution because I get a lot of people asking, can you print down the sides of leggings, the really thin spandex? And it's like, well, we can do some R&D and research that and see how it will hold on a DTG machine. I can't promise anything using the different, poly pre-treat, but this seems like a cool solution for that. And leather as well is cool. I saw in one of the videos we were watching before we press record, someone printed on like a leather journal, like they transferred directly to the cover of a book, basically, which is cool. So tell us a little bit about the process. I know it's a multi-step process. What does that look like? Yeah.
So, I mean, a lot of people are saying this is the DTG killer. It's brand new, and I don't know that I would go as far as to say it's the DTG killer.
Right.
But I mean, it's definitely kind of the new kid on the block, and it's starting to gain some attention.
Yeah.
The process, basically, the cool part about it, and why I mentioned DTG, is that DTF doesn't need any pre-treating, which is kind of the bane of the DTGer's existence.
Right.
Because you never know. You get the box, and then you have to figure out how much pre-treat to use on this type of garment. And when you switch companies, you're using a Gildan or you're using a Next Level or a Bella. It's all, technically the manufacturers say, well, use this much pre-treat on this color and this. It can get to be really, really frustrating. Well, with DTF, you don't need any of that. You don't need a pre-treat. You're just literally going to take your printer is going to print on this film. And what it does is it lays down the color first, and this is all through the RIP software. It does this. The RIP software tells it to lay the color first, and then it lays the white, the backing on top of that, for your print. And then what it does, or what you have to do is, once you've got that, you put this dust on it, or this kind of
powder.
It's not as thick as
it's
like a powder, exactly. And what that powder does is you get it all over the white, and then you are actually going to either put that in an oven or hover press with your heat press over it, so that those granules basically become the adhesive for this, transfer.
It takes the place of the pre-treat in the process, right?
Yeah, it's going to actually adhese the transfer to the garment. So then once you've done that, you basically turn it over onto the garment, laying on the heat press. And so another cool thing is now I'm actually looking through the transfer at the colored part, or like the actual design. It's not mirrored. It's exactly what I'm going to see. So I can line it up super easy because I know exactly where it's going to go on the shirt.
Yeah.
Then I literally heat press it for 10 to 15 seconds. The heat press pops up and I peel that PET film off. And it's actually a gorgeous, gorgeous print. The whites are
very vibrant.
super. Yeah. It's really a pretty end product.
Yeah, I wonder how it feels on the shirt, because my qualm with vinyl sometimes is that it feels like I'm wearing a big sticker and it can be heavy. So I wonder with this transparent film if it's a little bit lighter. It's probably not as breathable as DTG, obviously, because you're not actually printing onto the fibers; you're just laying something on top of it. But if it feels good, if it doesn't feel heavy and thick, I think that it's even something that I'd be like, I would wear a shirt with this process done to it. Seeing how it feels in the end. But so I know that there's some desktop units, the Epson L1800 conversion. People are converting Epson printers for this, just different inks and getting it all ready to go. It's around $2,000 to $2,500 with a max printing area of 11.5 by 16.5, which is close to a medium platen on a DTG printer, so you can get similar sizing. And I know that's the A3 model, and some desktop units do A4, which is smaller. So that's kind of like the barrier of entry, kind of like how you retrofitted your printer for sublimation in the beginning to see if this is something you wanted to do. This is something that someone could get into and see if it's even, they can gain traction using this particular model of printing or method, correct?
Yeah, that's actually what I was thinking of doing, potentially getting into one of these, desktop units for a couple grand, testing it out, seeing what I like about it, seeing what I don't like about it, seeing if it's something that could potentially, help us get product out the door. Sure. There's an industrial unit that is sold. Well, there's a distributor out in California that's got them for around $17,000. Okay. The cool thing about it is that it uses a roll of paper, and it's a wide roll. I think it's like a 24-inch PET roll, and so there's no minimum size. Well, 24 inches, but you can make it really long. You could very easily, like you were saying, you could print all the way down a legging, really easily, as long as you have a press that size. That's the downside. Sure. You have to make sure your press is as big as your print. It also comes with a machine that actually shakes the dust onto the paper. So when it comes out, and I couldn't confirm whether or not it also heats it as it's going through that to where it, when it comes out, it's ready to press, or if you still have to, heat that powder onto the white to create the adhesion. But regardless, just having that machine that does the dust thing, you don't have to have the dust all out and, in a bin and you're shaking it on. Yeah, make a mess. It's just all contained. But the cool thing about this particular machine is that with the right RIP software, it can do up to 200 transfers per hour. Obviously, that depends on the size of the transfer. Sure. But, can you imagine having 200 transfers that you can literally take off your machine, cut, throw on a shirt, and all you're doing is pressing them for 10 to 15 seconds? Right. Right there, that's an incredible productivity boost to your business. Yeah. Not only that, but like I was telling you earlier, when you mess up a print, you can see it because you're looking at the print. You're like, oh, those reds aren't red enough or whatever. And I just ruined, a 50-cent transfer or, as opposed to a $10 hoodie that I printed on. So there's some savings there as well. So there's a lot of really cool benefits to this new technology. I'm pretty excited about seeing where it's going to go. It hasn't. It's like I say, it's pretty brand new from what I can tell. Yeah. No big companies here. There's no Epson machine that does this. You have to convert it. There's no Brother. There's no Coldesi. There's no. None of the big guys are doing any of this stuff yet. But who knows? In the next year or two, you might go to a trade show and see a DTF machine next to the to the brother, GTX Pro, or
Right.
just kind of in that same family of printers. Who knows?
Yeah, it does sound awesome, man. I think it's interesting to see how the print on demand industry keeps evolving, and the new technologies and the new print methods that are being brought up. 200 transfers an hour is pretty powerful. I would think that the machine would almost have to heat them. I guess if you wanted to be a set it and forget it scenario, you'd hope that they would just kind of come out all ready to press without having to cure the powder to the ink, basically. But either way, like you said, huge productivity boost, and it's something that we'll keep on our radar. And if those of you listening have any questions about it, again, shoot us an email. Or if you know more about it than we do, if you're doing it, are you out there and you're doing DTF printing and you're holding out on us, let us know. We would love to talk to you about the process, what you're experiencing. It'd be a lot of fun. So with that, I think we're going to transition out of the point of interest, and we're going to talk about something that it feels like not a lot of people know about, because when I talk to people about this particular topic, they always have a question of what are they? How do I get them? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So I'm happy and excited to cover this topic for this week's main event.
Hey, it's time for the main event.
So Travis, tell us, man. Tell us, what are we talking about for the main event of this week's episode?
This week's main event, we're going to be talking everything virtual assistants, or the acronym for that is VA. Everybody talks about, I talk about my VA. I had my VA do this and that. It's just a virtual assistant. Virtual meaning they don't actually come to work in your facility or in your home. They are virtual. They are either in a foreign country. They could be even in America, the U.S., Canada, wherever. It doesn't really matter. As long as they are virtual to you, they are considered a VA.
Yep.
And there's a lot of ways to introduce these guys into particularly a P.O.D. business, but VAs are used in
all kinds,
pretty much every business. Yeah. So there are there's some usual suspects that you can use a VA to help you accomplish tasks. Josiah, what could a business use a VA for?
Yeah. So, we call these the usual suspects because, like Travis said, these are kind of wide-reaching uses for VAs in every business model, not necessarily just print on demand. But one of them would be bookkeeping, because I know that I hate numbers, and I would rather walk on a bed of hot coals than have to reconcile finances and numbers. I would want to cause myself physical harm. So a lot of people outsource their bookkeeping to a VA. Customer service, I mean, you see this.
Yeah.
And even big companies, customer service, you're always kind of transferred to the customer service line, and you can tell one way or the other that either the person's not in the same country, or you know what I mean. It's you can tell that they've outsourced it. Well, they're using VAs for this. They're using people, whether on the phone, typing emails, what have you, to respond to needs, so that the owner of the company and the employees don't have to worry about that. They can keep making money and keep growing the business. And then personal assistants, or a PVA, which it's not an actual acronym. I just say PVA because it sounds funny to me. So personal assistant, personal virtual assistant, making your appointments, scheduling your meetings, making your dentist appointment, whatever you want to do on a personal.
Social media.
Yep, social media,
a lot of people
posting for
use it
you.
for that.
Yeah, social media, not just as your personal assistant, but just your social media manager. A lot of people use the VAs to post, maybe provide the content for them, and then they post it and they boost it and they do all that, the ad sales and stuff like that. So very, very useful. So you can go from the usual suspects to in a drop shipping model, Travis, which you've done. How do you implement VAs in a drop shipping model for print on demand?
Sure. I mean, there's obviously those usual suspects, of course, would be included in the potential use of a VA in a dropship model. But the one that I started with way back when I was starting with Merch by Amazon, well, I had VAs before when I was just doing like retail arbitrage, and we use them for some wholesale sourcing.
Yep.
I would call those usual suspects more administrative VAs, basically compiling lists that then we would contact and things like that. But specifically for my print-on-demand business, I started using graphic designers. That was pretty early on when I was doing, some merch by Amazon. I would design some things, but I quickly realized that I don't have the skills necessary to create really good graphic design. I didn't go to school for it. I just kind of learned it as I go, and there's just way better people out there than what I could do. So I used it for graphic design. I would hire people. In some cases, I would pay them by the job or by the design. In other cases, I would pay them by the hour and ask them to create a certain number of designs per day.
Sure.
But yeah, so graphic design is one. Another way that we utilized VAs was listing content. Again, back to merch by Amazon. Everybody knows, if you're on merch by Amazon, the most tedious part of that, and it has gotten better as they've grown as a platform, but just uploading shirt after shirt after shirt.
Right.
I think now they have some, they have some in-house upload tools and things like that to where you can put the same design on multiple products, which really helped the process a lot. But so from merch by Amazon help, allowing people to upload to your account. And then for us, we early on moved into Amazon flat files and basically Excel spreadsheets. We talked about organizing designs in the past, and we won't really go into what they are, but basically you're creating spreadsheets that will then create listings on Amazon or on Walmart or whatever. I mean, I have VAs creating flat file or creating Excel spreadsheets for Walmart, for Amazon, for Wish.com. We've talked about there's a tool you can upload to Etsy for Shopify. All of those we have spreadsheets for, and using. For me, bookkeeping isn't as bad as spreadsheets. Like you would rather walk on hot coals than do bookkeeping. I would rather walk on hot coals than do spreadsheets. I mean, both are. You have to do them if you're doing this stuff. I mean, I guess you don't have to, but it'll definitely limit your ability to grow.
Right. Yeah. I was going to say that whole idea of flat files is something that I hate because it's a learning curve and it can be kind of overwhelming. And I know that Jason has kind of finally mastered and got a handle on flat files. And so he's like, dude, Travis, because you've preached to us the gospel of flat files for years now about how we just need to start doing those. And now that Jason's finally got a hold of him, he's like, man, this is the only way to do it. You can 10x your volume, your listing volume really, really quickly just by using a flat file and training VAs how to use it and do it all for you, which is huge. Yeah. So I agree, man. And in-house production, you can use them a lot the same way. Go ahead.
I was just going to say there's a couple more ways to use them in the dropship model. I think, in this day and age with Etsy and the rise of, custom graphics and custom listings.
Yeah.
You can really implement VAs in your order process. Basically just, if they have Photoshop, opening up that file and typing in that person's name.
Right.
And then, so order fulfillment, particularly with custom graphics, that's a huge one particularly for the drop ship model. If you're doing Etsy, it's very, very popular. I hear a lot of people are doing really well with custom listings, particularly on Etsy. And so they, literally the thing comes in, the email comes in, you either forward it to them or you send it to an email that your VA has access to.
Right.
They go in, they see the order, they get the SKU or the file or whatever. They open up in Photoshop or whatever editing tool they have. They change out the requisite information, and then they upload that to the order on the channel that it was sold on. So if it was Etsy and you have a particular print on demand guy, you send it to him or somehow get it to that, attach it to that order somehow to where, and then you don't ever have to touch it. Again, this is the whole idea of scaling. You should be working on your business, not in your business. Right. And as a print on demand entrepreneur, if you will, if that's such a thing, that's no different. You should be working on your business and not in it. Now, you shouldn't be creating the graphics for every custom order that comes in. Right. You should be having someone else do that so you can create new products, so you can come up with new ways to make money working on your business. So, I mean, that's kind of, we should probably started with that because that really is kind of the undergirding or underlying philosophy of using VAs. It's freeing you up to be able to work on your business. Right. And it's super important. So you were going to tell us about like in-house production in some ways.
Well, there's a lot of overlap, VAs. I think, from drop shipping and in-house because, we use VAs for graphic production or graphic design. We use them for listing content, flat files, same thing, custom graphics. So I think in addition to all of those that we just talked about, one thing that you can use them for also is shipping labels and pick lists, because I know for us, the VAs that we employ live in the Philippines. And let me just say real quick, because a lot of people I've had this kind of discussion of like, well, isn't that kind of like, cheap labor to employ them in the Philippines, and isn't it a moral issue? And I'll just say that it's a win-win situation for everybody, because from all the VAs that we've talked to, a VA position in the Philippines is really, really sought after, because they get to work from home, they get to do what they love, get to be with their families. And for us, it's advantageous because it is a very low dollar per hour or dollar per project work that we can get and pay for. But the other advantage of it is that when we go to sleep, if your VA is in another country or in the Philippines like ours are, they're working while we're asleep. And so they can go in while we're asleep and go into your ship station, go into your Amazon, whatever order channel you use, whatever fulfillment process you use, and they can get the labels ready, put the input all the weight information, get the order summaries, the pick list, the labels, create the batch, and in the morning all you do is walk in and press print, and you're good to go. So that's another thing that you can utilize them for, which is really handy, because again, it's all about saving you time. And the more time you save, the more productive you can be, the more products you can produce, the more orders you fulfill. It's a snowball effect. So I think that would be. Do you have any other ones for in-house production other than shipping labels, pick lists, stuff like that?
I mean, obviously, like you said, all of those. It works the same with the drop ship model for your in-house. I mean, for us, we do use them to create our pick list and our shipping labels and things like that, as well as all of the print files, which is, it's similar. So when we have custom things, they're creating that. So when we come in, all we're doing is pressing print. Now, instead of sending it off like a drop shipper, they would send it off obviously to the end fulfillment house. For us, they're just creating folders on our server, and they're actually using remote software, Team Viewer, to come into our space, clickety clackety, make the stuff, and then when we get there, it's all in a server or in a folder that says print files, and then there's a date on that print, and then all of the print files that are associated with all of the labels and the stuff that they created for that day, they're all right there. So we know exactly what we're needing to print, and we know exactly what labels need to go on them. We've got it all kind of worked out. So there's a lot of benefit to that. You're not sitting there doing all of that stuff or paying somebody, an American or a U.S. wage to do that when, like you said, when you can pay quite a bit less for somebody and have them all ready for you the moment your team walks in the door. Yeah. It's pretty beneficial.
Yeah, I think it's super beneficial. And, those of you listening are like, this is great. Well, first, before we get to where we find them, let's talk about, Travis, onboarding, because there needs to be an onboarding process, just like if you were hiring an employee that's going to be in your shop every day. You need to kind of vet them. You need to do your homework. I know there's some of the places that you use to hire can help you with that. But one of the first things that we've done is we'll usually schedule a Skype interview, a Skype phone call, something like that, to talk to them, get a feel for them, and kind of do an interview like, hey, this is what we're looking for you to do. What's your experience? That kind of thing, kind of develop a rapport. Because I will say that VAs like to feel appreciated. Everyone does. But it seems like for the ones we employ, at least from the Philippines, being personable and telling them they're doing a good job he goes a long way with them to motivate them to just keep crushing it. So, but how do you, Travis, when you're onboarding someone, what's some of the processes that you're using to bring them on board for your team to get them equipped to do what they need to do?
Yeah. So one of the biggest, I think, hurdles for people in hiring a VA is that you're basically giving these people access to your stuff. You're giving them access to to all your accounts and all of this stuff. And so there's a fear. It's legitimate. It's a fear that they could, mess something up or steal something. Worst case scenario, they have bad intentions and they're going to blow something up and they're going to take something or do something, bad in your account. So one of the first things that we do when we actually onboard somebody is we give them access to, we have them created a LastPass account. And LastPass is a password manager tool that we pay for that is really, really invaluable in our business. And what it allows us to do is share passwords or share login credentials with our team without allowing them to see the password itself. So I can share. So in other words, Josiah, if you work for me, I can share this website, like my Amazon Seller Central account or my Etsy account or any of those things, my ShipStation. I can send that to you and you can click on a button and it'll open it up and autofill the password to where you can't see it and log you into those accounts. And then if that person, is a bad apple or I have to fire them after a few months or I just, whatever, I can literally just unshare all of the things that I've shared with them in LastPass and they no longer have access. They've never seen my passwords and it's a clean break. Okay. Same thing for Google. We use same thing for Google Sheets. We, share it with an email. And then once they quit, we unshare everything from that email. Another thing that we add them to is Slack. You were talking about, communication and kind of attaboys, good job and things like that. That I totally agree. That's super, super important. So we use a tool called Slack and we use it internally as well. It's really great. Every single one of our computers that are different stations. So we have, 6 different departments. Every computer at each department has a Slack address. So literally, if I want to talk to somebody that's back in the DTG area, I just can Slack them a message. It's basically a communication tool, but I can Slack them a direct message. I can create a group, a channel for everybody. I can talk individually to the VAs. They can ask me questions. They can ask the other people questions. It's a great, it's all internal. You can transfer files that way. Very, very beneficial. And again, we share it to their email, and then they come into our workspace. If they have to leave, or if they have to get fired, or they quit, or whatever, we can take them out of that, and then they don't have access to it. And then the final thing that we use in onboarding, we use a software called HubStaff that the VAs will install on their computer, and anytime they're working for us, they basically click a button and it starts tracking their time. And that's what we use to pay them with. So if they're not tracking their time, they're not getting paid. And we make that very clear. Right. This is a way that we track your time, and it'll also it'll also measure productivity. Sure. So in other words, if they click the button and then they're not moving their mouse, we know, we see that they have 0% productivity, and it'll even take screenshots. We can go in and look, and it's like, hey, for these, this 30 minutes, your mouse didn't move. Your screen is the same on all of these screenshots. Yeah. And that's a problem. And
how much is a HubStaff So is it a monthly thing, or how do you? What's the cost associated with something like that?
I can't remember right off the top of my head, but I do know it's like per person. So every person you add, it's another $3 or another $5 or something like that. So for every VA that you have utilizing it, you're gonna. I think it's like $15 for up to 3, and then you start adding per person. If I remember correctly, we've been using it for several years, so I don't really remember off the top of my head. Are you Googling it right now? I see the googly eyes
moving. Googly eyes. That's funny. Yeah, I'm
Did
trying
you find
to look.
it yet?
Hubstaff.com pricing.
Mm-hmm. Boom.
Pricing. Yeah, I have my AirPods in. I know you do too. Do you ever have that thing where you say something and it thinks that you're asking it a question? Like it mixes up with like, "Hey Siri," and the dictation pops on. It drives me crazy. It happens every time I record anything. So annoying. Okay, so for one user, $0 forever is what it says.
There you go.
That's one user. Let's see. 2 users, it starts at $14 a month, or 7 per user, basically. For their their premium plan is $10 a user. The enterprise is $20 a user, and they come with, of course, various different things that for each one, like timesheet approvals and payroll, all that kind of expense tracking, all on their premium plan, and the benefits go up from there. That's awesome.
Yeah, I think we just use the basic one, and then my person that handles HR totals it all up and does all of the, this is how much they made. This is all of that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting that we talk about this because Madeline, my wife, was just talking about, she wants to hire some VAs to help run her website and her Amazon channel. We're going to build out that kind of stuff. And she's like, there's got to be a way to track what's happening here. There's got to be a way that I know that they're not just arbitrarily putting numbers on a spreadsheet for their hours. You know what I mean? So I will have to let her know about this because she's going to be thrilled. And I'll see what happens. You learn stuff. I learn stuff when we record these things. It's all beneficial.
This actually ties into our next topic or next part, because we're going to talk about where to find VAs.
Yeah. Yep.
And the second one that we have on our little internal list is odesk.com.
Yep.
And Odesk actually is a whole platform for VAs, and they include a time tracking software. So if you hire a VA on Odesk and have them work inside of Odesk, their time is already automatically collected, as well as their screenshots. It's basically, it's very similar to the way Hubstaff does it, but it's all part of the Odesk
it sounds
platform.
Similar as well, because I know my wife has done some work for Upwork for managing people's Etsy stores for a while. She was getting different Upwork gigs, and Upwork does the same thing. You have to work inside Upwork. It takes screenshots. It tracks your hours. It has all that stuff for you.
Oh, you know what? Time out. You know what I just did? Odesk is the old version of Upwork. So
there we go.
We're talking about the same exact thing. Yeah,
all right.
Upwork is Odesk. Odesk, they changed, I don't know, a couple years ago, I think.
Okay.
And into Upwork. I think it was Odesk and it was another company, and they combined.
That came together. Okay. Yep. That's funny. I'm like, man, that sounds really, really familiar. Oh, there's a reason. It's the same thing, which is awesome.
Exactly.
So I've used Odesk to find people and for projects. I didn't know what Odesk was, but I have used Upwork. And the other one also you can have them through Upwork or Odesk, whichever you want to call it. They actually have the VAs take tests, right? English tests, skill proficiency, stuff like that, so that it's just another way that you can feel confident that these people are who they say they are, in addition to wanting to feel safe about your sensitive information, but you also want to feel confident that the money you're paying these workers is going to someone that can actually pull off the tasks that you've assigned them. So that's also very cool. And looks like Upwork takes 20% of the workers' pay. So that's just an internal discussion with you and the VA, about how that's all going to work, as far as their pay and all that kind of stuff. And the other one, the one I've only used, is onlinejobs.ph, which is Philippines only. We've had great luck. We found a lot of good people on there. In fact, one of our head graphic designers is from this platform. We found him, and I will do anything in my power to make sure he never ever leaves, because he's really, really good at what he does. And so, Travis, I know you have used onlinejobs.ph as well. Good luck with it, right? I mean, it's a simple process. Post a job, and then basically you get inundated with responses. I mean, it's pretty incredible how quickly and how many responses you'll get in a 24-hour period once you post something.
Yeah, I mean, the onlinejobs.ph is incredible. One thing if I was comparing it to Upwork, there are a couple differences. Onlinejobs.ph is Philippines only, like you mentioned, which means that you're probably going to have some applicants that are going to have some internet issues. A lot of the Philippines there's a lot of people that have a lot of internet issues. And so you may not have the speeds that you could get, like if you were going if you needed a programmer or somebody, that's going to do something that's going to require them coming into your space, like we have our shipping VAs. They're not from the Philippines because we can't necessarily rely on the internet that they have there, their internet connections and their ISPs. So we've gone, I think, there's just other options for locations with Upwork. So not only can you filter by, specific skills, and proficiency and the tests that they take, you can also filter their location. So let's say I want to get somebody that's in the Ukraine or Pakistan because they have a better a higher ISP. But you can also just ask or even have them do a speed test from their ISP wherever they're at and have them report it back to you. You might be surprised. I'm sure there are places in the Philippines that have great internet. I just know that from working with a lot of Filipino VAs that there's a lot of so for example, one of my VAs that does some listing for us and does some other administrative tasks about 2 weeks ago said, hey, our place was flooded. The internet was down. We're actually moving. We've already moved. We've contacted our ISP. They said it'll take 2 weeks to hook up our internet. So basically, she's saying, I can't work for 2 weeks. Sure. This person has also had other outages where all of a sudden they just stop working and you have no idea. Yeah. And then you get a message, hey, I'm in an internet cafe. I think we had a power outage in our, where I live. And the estimated time for the power to come back on is, 2 days or 3 days or whatever. I'll do as much as I can from the internet cafe when I can get there. So I say all that to, kind of buyer beware. But the trade-off, Upwork typically is a little bit more. You're going to pay a little bit more for those VAs that you are when you go into onlinejobs.ph. And then I'll also say that I have found probably my favorite VAs on onlinejobs.ph. I have some incredible relationships, people that have been working for me for 3-4 years now that I found in the Philippines. Filipinos are incredible people. They are so loyal and dependable, and their work ethic is incredible. I really love the Filipino people, and I think you probably have the same experience that I've had working with a lot of Filipinos. Yep. Yeah. They're amazing.
They're great, man. I highly recommend. Like you said, there's some, buyer beware and just know kind of the potentials of what could happen. But overall, I've had nothing but a positive experience using onlinejobs.ph, and I would highly recommend it to anyone that's looking to kind of try VAs out and see what we're talking about. See, I can tell you one thing that can be a complete game changer, especially if there's repetitive things that you're doing on a daily basis that you could easily offload and at an affordable, work wage, basically. It'll change your life. It'll take away a lot of the monotony and let you, like Travis was saying, start growing your business, working on your business, and not just being lost in all the details of the business. So give it a shot. Again, onlinejobs.ph is the place where you can find them. Upwork as well. And you have here in the show notes Fiverr as well. Have you used Fiverr before when finding VAs?
I've used Fiverr for... Yeah, I mean, not necessarily for. I mean, you can. I know people that have found Fiverr, or people that are now working for them as VAs. They found them on Fiverr. Typically, right. Fiverr. It's Fiverr.com with 2 R's. If you're not familiar with it, it originally was like everybody did stuff for $5. Now you can pay upwards of $100 depending on what you want. And it's basically people just saying, "I will do X for this much money." I've had logos designed on Fiverr, social media, like banners and things like that. I've had that done. We actually our intro and outro to our podcast was done by on a Fiverr gig. And so, there's a lot of things like that you can do on Fiverr. What I've heard is that if you have somebody that you continually go back to a lot, sometimes you can. I just had a doorbell. Someone's here. I've got a guest, but some people will actually extend that relationship and formalize it into a virtual assistant relationship with a Fiverr person that they're really, happy with. But it is a cool place that you can go and just get a quick, hey, I need this spreadsheet, created or translated into something else, or I want to have a logo done, or I want to have a just whatever. There's go to Fiverr.com and you'll see what I mean. You can literally have pretty much anything done if you're willing to pay for it.
Yeah. Yeah. So check those places out. Again, just to recap, it is Fiverr, Upwork, and onlinejobs.ph are the 3 sites that we've had experience with. I'm sure there might be more out there. If there are, let us know what we're missing, and we can kind of follow up next week on this episode. But for now, Travis, unless you have anything else to say about VAs and the miraculous stress relief they can be in your life in some instances, we will just put a bow on this episode and tell you guys once again that we are so thankful that you choose to listen. We hope that this content has been entertaining and informative and educational. And I know, I can speak for Travis when we say that we wish this podcast existed when we first started doing print on demand. Kind of a break our arms, patting ourselves on the back type thing. But, we're always really excited to bring this content for you. As always, go to printondemandcast.com to get the podcast. You can reach out to us, info@printondemandcast.com. Rate and subscribe on iTunes, and let us know how we're doing. Leave us a review. We'd love to hear back from you. So with that being said, folks, for Travis, I'm Josiah. Thank you guys so much, and we'll see you next week right here on the Print on Demand Cast.
See ya.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Print on Demand Cast. We hope you enjoyed the show. If you've got a question or a suggestion for the show, send Travis and Josiah an email at info@printondemandcast.com. Take a minute to rate and review the show on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. And don't forget to subscribe now so you don't miss next week's episode. See you next week.